Hello, hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, everybody. I am speaking with fascinating people in tech here on SaugaTalks. So I need your support. If you're listening to us on major podcasting platforms right now, if you're watching on YouTube, maybe on LinkedIn, on Twitter, all right, we need your support. We need your likes. We need your comments. We need your engagement so more people can see this wonderful, wonderful talk with brilliant leaders. I'm speaking very often on this show. Today is my day because John Michelsen is here. John, how are you?
Very good, Irene. Great to be here. Thank you very much.
Loving having you on the show because we're going to talk about exciting things, how technology can understand people. We are in this 2022, right? We hear a lot about from technical gurus that people have to get to know tech. Tech is the future. If you're not in tech, right, you're missing out. Or another angle of how important it is that technology comes closer to people, all right? So we're gonna talk about automation a lot today because
Mhm.
you're leading Krista Software, and
Right.
congratulations on the latest round of funding
Thank you
company
very much.
received.
Yes. Yes.
Exciting news!
Yeah.
AI led platform for process automation. I'm
Yes.
sure we talk about this, right? This is intelligent automation space.
Mhm.
I have background in this space. I love automation that helps people. So let's get down to it. In 2022, we hear a lot about automation trends.
Mhm.
Let's talk about what we knew before. Field is not new, but let's talk about shiny new technologies that really propel us forward.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks. Thanks for the question. It's a really great time to be in this space. If you really do play back over the last few years, the tech that we're using in most automation platforms is indistinguishable from the stuff we had 40 years ago. The approaches are largely record and replay of user interfaces or paint the screen, drag icons from a palette, hit the button to generate the code. But we've been playing that idea for a really long time. This is a watershed year, though. Intelligent automation is a very different animal. AI led intelligent automation has a whole different organizing principle. And that idea is let's have people and systems and AI collaborate to achieve outcomes. And that's a very different model than the paint the screen, hit the button, and generate the code. It makes for a very interesting business case. It makes for a radically transformed organization. So we're really excited to be a part of it. And of course, that's why the round of funding, and that's why the customer growth we've had, all kinds of good stuff.
Excited to hear about this fantastic journey, John. So let's step into some of the exciting details here because
Mhm.
we spoke about technology that understands people.
Right.
Tell us
Right.
more.
Yeah. So I'm founder CEO, and when I put together uh, why would I even enter this space, and what would our mission really be? One of the most fundamental principles that I think we in IT have really missed is this whole idea that we build stuff, it's tough on the people we give it to, and as a response, we call them stupid or lazy. And that is not going to get us there, right? We are not going to deliver tech at the incredibly fast pace that we want to and continue to increase that pace if users can't easily consume what we're delivering to them. So what we did was we thought, okay, the industry is full of people trying to make people understand technology. We need to make technology that understands people. If we solve that, we solve the consumption problem, Irene. And that means that I can make updates daily, hourly, and no one needs a training class, right? We've had so many examples of you can't change from system X to system Y, or you can't add system X to my environment because I don't understand it. I'll need to be trained. I don't understand the jargon. I don't know when to use it versus other stuff. We just have to simplify this whole thing. We can make the ice under the ice under the water in the iceberg analogy. If we can keep it simple and small on the top of the iceberg, and we can have all of that tech underneath the water that no one has to worry about, that's technology that understands people. So we have a whole philosophy around this. It literally drives how we built our product and how we take it to market.
Beautiful, beautiful. So to me, automation is all about humans. Okay, machines will be automating themselves. We know that,
Yes.
right, with the help of AI. All right,
Mhm.
and we're gonna watch them, right, doing that for our benefits. All right, but let's talk about humans again, because when we talking about automation adoption, all right, how do you think it's gonna go in 2022 comparing what last year?
Yeah. So the good trend here, and it's not pushing as fast as we want it to, is automation has been considered the way to do something without a human. And that was, we believe, a fundamental error, right? Businesses operate with people. And no, we don't want human labor where a machine could do the job, and we don't want humans making decisions that software can make. But automating a business is necessarily an integration of people, systems, and AI. It can't be that you're good at integrating systems and you can build automation to do that, but you're no good at the other two. You're not going to get there. So the trend that we really like, and why there's so much demand for something like us, is it's not just about, can I stitch three systems together and make some automation among them occur? It's, can I take people and systems and leverage ML and NLP and make an outcome? And that is a fantastic trend. We've got to move upstream in the value stream, if you will. So it's great to save some labor, redundant labor on data entry, right? That's the classic early RPA use case. We find most customers are breaking out of that and saying, okay, where's the higher value stuff? How do I interconnect people and systems in a much more meaningful way? Because then I can operate my business at machine speed, not at human speed with the queues and bottlenecks and waiting on emails and all the nonsense we all know now, right? When the machine is more involved in that collaboration among people, systems, and AI, we get organizations that run at machine speed. And that's the goal.
Fantastic, exciting times, definitely. All right.
Yeah.
And when we historically talked about process automation,
Mhm.
business operations optimization, okay, that kind of important mission critical efforts, okay, we were on the way of again improving what we've got. Okay,
Yes.
I
Yes.
think you know where I'm going with it,
Yeah.
because automating the processes, the way your company is operating, it's not gonna propel, that's my opinion, not gonna propel you to new age. What do you think?
That's right. Irene, this is such a brilliant point. And it's something that even most automation practitioners miss. Automating the existing way the business functions is not transforming that business at all, right? In fact, in many ways, Irene, we're hard coding the way we currently do things, which makes change more difficult. The irony of all ironies, right? We want to empower someone to take 6 steps down to 3, give the machine more of the steps. We want to simplify. You know, how many times do you look at an organization and the organization's people and departments are essentially a reflection of the IT systems that they use? There's 6 steps because there's 6 different systems involved, and we've taught 6 different people how to use those 6 different, and therefore that's all nonsense. If we really get to the point of what are we trying to achieve as an outcome, and what is the most effective way to do that, where machines do most of the work, and we have a whole philosophy around how that happens, then you are transforming that business and you're making your people very powerful and you're making the machines very busy. And though that's the idea, right? Make the machine do the work.
Exactly. Sounds like music to my ears, John. Absolutely. The big shiny toy out there, while we're talking about, and most companies focusing on their operations and making their customer experience smoother, big tech talking about metaverse.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So how do we connect that shiny, beautiful future, right? When we can better ourselves out there with Industry 5.0 promise. Okay, it's beyond automation, it's beyond thinkable right now, right?
Mhm.
But I do want to infuse metaverse conversation in this, because in metaverse we're not automating, we're living in that
Right.
virtual reality. So how do
Mhm.
we connect these two worlds, you think?
So this whole notion of intelligent automation, of making businesses function as a collaboration among people, systems, and AI, is exactly metaverse. That's of course the idea. As a presentation of how we do that collaboration, you might do it very crudely with textual stuff in a chatbot. You might do it in a much richer way with pure voice, or in a fully realized metaverse, you're doing it as an avatar inside of a world where you're interacting with tech that is AI powered, and it's able to interact with you in a much more human way. But that is the progression, and these are the steps involved. We can't skip those middle steps of getting ourselves from what is right now. Think about it this way. It's so true in our industry. We either have collaboration tools, or we have integration automation tools, or we have AI kits. We need something that is equally all three. That powers a metaverse. And that's where intelligent automation takes us. And that's where the work that we do is along that path.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I touched a little bit on customer experience, okay? Can you spell out for us, right, how the new world is going to be better because customers feel this seamless attention to their needs and employee experience? Why don't we talk about both?
Absolutely. So when you unravel, what does it mean to make technology that understands people? We have to get to how do people interact with a variety of things in our real world, but never need to go to training or pause because they're nervous or don't understand, right? This is all about conversation. At the end of the day, Irene, you and I didn't go to training class in order to talk to each other. And you and I can converse on a variety of topics. If you know the domain and I know the domain, we're going to have a great conversation. We're going to achieve all of what we would want to. And that's fantastic, right? Today's applications and automation platforms are not conversational, and therefore they use jargon in odd ways. We'll put it this way. You don't send your salespeople to sales training. Of course, some do. Most have to send them to CRM software training. But if the CRM software was as conversational as a human, there goes the training requirement, right? That's just like you and I talking about a sales effort. You and I, Irene, we would never think of, right? We go from one WhatsApp group to another group. We didn't think, oh, I need a training class. I better understand it. It's just not that way, right? So tech that understands people is conversational. And once we break that barrier, humans can embrace tons of change if it feels like more of the same. Conversation in a variety of topics is just more of the same. So we can continuously change the process, change the steps, even change the rules. No one has to be pre-aware of that or read the playbook, because the conversation just flows differently this time than it did the last. No one gets all confused if the conversation flows differently than the last conversation. So this is how humans embrace change, through the notion of iterative or natural evolving conversation. That's how our systems need to work. That's how AI-driven automation must work. And in fact, it's how Metaverse has to work. We can't pre-wire all of the ways that humans will interact in Metaverse, because they need to evolve the way that human conversation does. So long story short, conversation is the heart of this. And I don't mean a chat bot or a voice bot on a phone. I mean literally the composition of how we execute a process itself needs to be a conversation among people, systems, and AI.
You brought few absolutely critical points. So one that caught my attention is that new generations that starting those careers now, okay, they live in completely different reality. So if a job they're being pushed into old industrial way of working, all these waterfall models, all this long-term planning and training and stuff, we're losing this young bright generation. So we're gonna go with there. We need technology that understands people better than people understand themselves.
That's right. Irene, we spoke years and years ago. We were all talking about the consumerization of IT, but at some point IT said, hey, we're not up for that, and it sort of died out, right? Well, the problem is the consumers are still into it, right? And that younger generation, they're not tolerant of this stuff. If it doesn't understand how you work, if it's not as simple to operate as a typical mobile app running on their phone, it just won't happen. And there's, it's odd, because we were raised in a generation where we understood that this was complicated. We have to figure it out. We must read the manuals. We must go to class. It's over our heads, and we're just going to have to deal with it, right? There's no such expectation in younger generations. And that really is the bar. And by the way, the answer is not to make them conform, because our organizations operate at huge disadvantage because we were willing to deal with poor tech, right? Tech that doesn't understand us, that we have to figure out how to understand. When we think about all of those vast numbers of people, so many businesses have large numbers of low tech people who have to deal with high tech IT nonsense. That has to stop, because the cost of changing employees, the cost of them moving from one part of the business to the other, all of those things, changing any of that stuff, such a human labor effort. The way that the younger generations think is, that's all nonsense. I'm not willing to do that. We meet that bar, and our organizations are actually better for it.
Exactly. And again, that what I understand talking to brilliant leaders on my show here is that machines are getting smarter, right? People will have to get smarter.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Whatever it means, right? Breaking
That's
out
right.
silos, right? Stepping out of very comfortable hierarchical way of working.
Yes. Doing the same
Continue
rote
that trail,
task.
please. Yes.
That just doing the same rote set of tasks over and over again is no longer going to be a job. That is going to be the teaching of a machine to do that job, right? We do not need human capacity involved in things that are easily repeatable and even decisions that are easily made. We need people who are capable of creativity, planning, resourcefulness. There are a number of skills that are never going to go away.
Empathy. How about empathy?
Empathy, fantastic. And those skills, we'll need so much of that, even more than we even have right now. So humans will have to evolve to a better place, and right. But the good news is, we will not have to be essentially digging ditches with a spoon, which is what it feels like so often we do in a business these days, right? It's we don't even use decent tools, right? When you think about the way that the Industrial Revolution has made the physical labor so much easier to accomplish significant amount, we're in the computer industry, let's face it, we're still behind in terms of that type of evolution. The number of people required to get a job done inside the business is still too high. So that number comes down. Machines do more of the work. The machine knows the steps, knows the rules, knows how to talk to everybody else about it, systems and people. And when that occurs, that part of our lives is much simpler. What do we have to do? We have to now have more creative thinking, more insightful understanding, more empathy. And the way that one chief financial officer of a huge bank described this to me, and it was brilliant, exactly right. He said, my organization right now today is 80% of its time doing things and 20% of its time thinking. Transformation for me is 80% of my people's time thinking and 20% doing. And that is a fantastic encapsulation of what machines are supposed to do for us, right? His goal is not half the people in his org. His goal is transforming the activities they perform to more thinking. And by thinking, he means empathy, creativity, planning, finding new paths, right? Those are things we can do and add tremendous value. Let the machines do the rest.
Beautiful. I like this manifesto of humans, okay, with machines, over machines, but definitely not alone anymore. I read just recently a nice article where people pointing out that evolutionary, we were not created to read tons, volumes of text, okay? We probably have good great grip on how to survive, right? How to
Right.
get ourselves out there and not to die in infancy. Those things we kind of developed, right? Then we developed our intellectual perspectives, right?
Right.
But when it comes to, and very quickly get into intelligent automation, okay, we are not good at processing 5,000 emails a day. We're
No.
not good at it.
No.
Okay, we
No.
tried for 20 years in my career. I tried.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I
Right.
excelled in some of it. How silly is it?
Yeah, and in fact, the studies are all there. And again, I can borrow from manufacturing that when a human does the same task 1,000 times or 10,000 times, they get worse at the task. When a machine does that task, if you had our product with its insight and with its AI capabilities, it gets better at 1,000. It gets even better at 10,000. We're just doing the work that we should be giving the machine. And you're right. Oh my goodness, 5,000 emails. There's just too much, right? There's just too much we want to do with our lives that doesn't have to do with reading so many emails. Um, when this is a real world use case, we have customers who have vast numbers of documents. They could be contracts, it could be policies, it could be whatever, right? Regulations in government. We have people right now that are now deploying our software so that Krista knows, Krista's the name of our software. Krista knows all of that content, and people just ask the question. You don't have to know those thousands of pages. Whenever you need to know something from that knowledge base, you just ask Krista. Krista will answer the question. What an incredibly different world we live in, that instead of me having to be so nervous about how I have to know everything about all of that content so that I can know, just have a machine know all that stuff and then ask what you need to know whenever you need to know, right?
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's talk about human again, all right? So getting smarter requires new skills, okay? We
Yes.
still need to learn. We're not gonna be lying down on the couch all day long, right? We want to produce, we want to be useful, right?
Right,
So
right.
what kind of skills you think, all right, people would need to learn is as easy it is, but sometimes it does require our human ingenuity and frankly effort, yeah?
That's right. That's right. And of course, it's anything in the creative realm, anything in
Mhm.
the creative. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, planning and is a big one also. So people still and hopefully always will buy from people. The interfacing of people is, I think, incredibly important. There are a ton of skills that we still must have. The good news is we'll never be doing the same thing a third or fourth time. We just won't have to, right? We will do something once and say, hey, I need my digital assistant to do that. I need my whatever, depending on the context, what kind of AI companion I have, and whether that's a business context or personal. But in both of those, it will not be necessary for you to do the same thing the third time. The drive for humanity will be to increase its own evolution, right? In fact, it was a part of our thinking, and this is unfortunate, but it's true, right? Moore's curve basically tells us that machines evolve at an incredibly fast pace and exponentially. Yeah, Moore's curve. I went old school on everybody. Um, Humans evolve over eons. Well, how can those things work together? Well, that was part of what gave us the motivation. Well, the machine has to figure it out because people are going to take eons. Machines can figure it out much faster than people can, right? Where I'm going here is our evolution has to start in increasing within our minds, our ability to be creative. We must think about a future. There's so much capability in the technology. We have to think bigger about what we can do with technology, right? That's the job of us. It's to figure out what they can do better for us, them being the machines.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I hear a lot about, the industry will be merging.
Hmm,
Okay. It's not going to be fintech, insurtech, health tech anymore in the nearest future. Okay. Because some fantastic, inspiring work is out there already. Okay. And big tech is actually touching all these spaces, figuring it out. Right.
right,
So
right.
industries will be merging, skills will be merging. And guess what? Business and IT lines. Don't you see they will
Yes.
be blurring over time?
They will and they have to, because they're, again, back to the whole philosophy around what do we need to do to make this a completely different world in terms of intelligent automation. The consumption side, technology understands people, was one of the two constraints we had to solve. The other one you just hit right there, Irene. The second challenge is that IT cannot keep up with the mouth of the business. It's never going to. It's unreasonable to think that I can program as fast as my business partners can ask me to do things. They can always ask faster than I can build. Even if I have 10 times the number of people, I can never keep up, right? The nature of how we deliver IT services has got to separate. An analogy I use, and it's silly, but it works, is, when we got word processors into the business, it was WordPerfect, it was Microsoft Word, and these guys, right? WordStar. If you go back long enough, guys, I used WordStar. Again, go old school. Word processors were IT giving the business the ability to create their own documents and print them on their own printers. What we do today is we have automation tools in IT, and we say, hey, business, tell me all the things you want to automate, and I'll write it all for you. That would be like saying, I've got Word, you tell me the document, and I'll write it in IT for you, and I'll give it back to you. We would never do that. We have to self-serve our automation capabilities, just like we self-serve writing an email, writing a Word document, creating a spreadsheet. Automating the steps and rules and processes and how we want outcomes designed has got to be equally a self-service activity for the business person to do, not for IT. IT definitely owns all those systems of record, right? But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the things that cross systems and people and AI. That needs to be self-service as a part of the business, just like writing a Word doc or creating a spreadsheet. Because if IT was signed up for doing all of that, we'd never get a Word doc done, would we? And it's no fault of IT. At its best, it just cannot keep up. And the change required, right? Every time you see something, every time IT gives a delivery of an app to its business partner, the business partner gives them 50 more things to do with that app, right? The same thing would be true with a Word document. It's not a different problem. It's just that we solved it the wrong way. Now the challenge was IT didn't have the technology to enable self-service for automation. We're reaching that point, right? We are reaching that point. So now it is time to empower self-service of automation, and then the business can operate at its own speed.
And you're touching yet on another very human side. Okay, we get motivated, we produce better, we get more productive when we're involved.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
When
Yes.
we're working on something where we
Yes.
can be heard.
That's
all
right. We get that sense of ownership and pride, right? And and empowerment. It's mine to do. I understand this. I know this. This is my and of course, and that's and to be a part of that is, of course, an incredibly uplifting activity versus 5,000 emails a day. So our motivation is absolutely to move with this growth of technology and these advancements. Those who are looking to work against it, I think it's natural to be nervous or concerned about change. That's a fundamental human thing. There's no, that's understandable. But in most every case, those changes, and even tech changes, even though you can read about the typewriters were going away and word processors were coming in, or typesetters were going away and desktop publishing was coming in, or computers are coming in and all of the people who do math for a living, or we could just keep going back in time and seeing this over and over again. But our world is actually all the better for it. All the better for it. We just have to recognize it's an evolution toward a better place.
Absolutely, and I can just, I don't know, even make this point stronger by imagine, just look around us. We have more time to think than previous generations. No
Yes.
questions.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Future generations, they will have more free time, but I don't call it free. I call it time to invent better world, live longer, live happier. Don't you find this connection with technology?
Yes. And there are so many great examples of this. Just using GPS navigation software on my phone or in my car. When I was a kid, my dad took a week to plan our trip. He was drawing on a highlighter on a series of maps, right, in order to get us across the country. And today I would literally just say, hey, my Apple device, I want to drive to Orlando, Florida, and it's plotting, and I'm on my way. It's just the amount of time that gives us, right? That adds days to our vacation. Just the ability to do that. And we, in a business context, we want the same thing. We want outcomes tremendously faster. We want the machine to do more of the work. We're literally using GPS software that draws the highlight for us instead of dad spending nights, several nights. I remember him sitting there doing the highlights, and of course, if he gets it wrong, he's scratching that one and doing a different highlight. Anyway.
How about the whole departments of dads, okay, sitting out there across the globe, planning things that, yes, we can laugh about it now, but yeah, just appreciate how far we've gone.
We
John,
shift.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so very much. What an empowering talk today. So just to sum up, okay, for the audience out there, we touched on big promise of intelligent automation. We touched on humans, machines, industry objectives, even company inside the progress, right? Their efforts to live a little better, more rewarding life. All right.
That's
So
right.
few takeaways for our audience. Where do you see we're going this year?
So for this year, we get higher level in task automation. We're getting more and more to outcomes. We're focused on the human aspect of what automation has to be. It's not about separating people and systems. It's actually when they collaborate that we get great business outcomes, and where more interesting value proposition is. Where do we go beyond 22? I'm a Star Trek geek. I want the computer. I want to be talking to the computer on Star Trek. I don't want to be dealing with how many systems are behind it. I want to be able to say this is what my goal is, and for the machine to figure it out. If there's something I need to hear, I want the machine to tell me. I don't want to be constantly checking my email or looking at screens. That's the world we need to be going to. We take a nice big step closer to that in 22.
Fantastic. I want to be part of that future. Absolutely. John, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Cannot hear about fantastic progress. Krista Software is making big promise with AI-led intelligent automation platform. Yeah. Fantastic team, fantastic promise, John. Yeah, let's stay in touch.
Thank you, Irene. Thanks for having me. Had a great time.